Yep. We at it
Welcome back,
again.
welcome back, welcome back to another episode of the Tmsi podcast. We on episode number 4.
Let's
Wait, that's
go.
8, right? 4, ladies and gentlemen. And back with your illustrious host, Pat, the prettiest of Pats. Here with my brother. Tell me your name one more time.
Yeah, it's your boy Hassan, aka Mr. Not So Light Skin. We out here. Woo.
And Mr. Not
And
So Light Skin. Who we
introducing
got with us?
introducing the finest of the executive producers. This guy has shot everything from music videos to very introspective. God damn it, this word. Introspective movies that will have you think. We have my boy right here, Stalin Levi Chuska. Levi Chuska. Yeah. I fixed it last name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's not me, by the way. Not imagine.
Actually, I'm Bob.
Like, wait, how am I on this podcast? I just clicked on a random Zoom link.
What's up,
Random
guys?
guy shows up with no shirt. What's going on, man? How are you feeling today?
Yeah.
All right. Man, what they made you say this week?
Oh, I have a lot to say this week. Yes. Thank you for asking me. So we're gonna start off with the obvious. You see what this is? This is
Some
black
liquor?
coffee. No, I'm Muslim, bro. Chill. Not on the pod. I'm kidding. The white claw from the back just starts falling. No, I want to come out Starbucks, man. I've been deeply hurt
broke
by
your
Starbucks.
heart?
They broke my heart, and I don't really like Starbucks that much. I
Wait, hold
just
on.
use them as convenience.
Hassan, you sold their stock?
No, I didn't buy it. I was thinking of purchasing it. I was thinking of selling my other stocks to purchase Starbucks stocks because coffee is something that's generational. It's always there, no matter who
Yeah.
dies, which is a very eerie way to put it. But Starbucks is telling the employees not to express uh their sentiments or their positions on the current state of this country and like show support for Black Lives Matter at work. So they can't wear Black Lives Matter pins or any apparel that shows that they're with the movement. But what I find is surprising is that Starbucks goes through all these other huge celebrations of other cultures and stuff like that. Like when it's Christmas, they go as far as making the cups. You know,
Well, they had
I'm
some.
not comparing religion to like race
Didn't
here,
they have
but
some controversy with the cups too?
yeah, but they stuck with it. You see what I mean?
Right.
So they chose that battle to fight. But when it came to this actual thing where it
And
affects everyone,
LGBT
LGBT rights, which is rightfully
Yeah.
so. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, but you can't just tell your employees not to wear it, and if they do, they do stand a chance of being reprimanded. I'm just here to say on air, I'm officially boycotting Starbucks, and if you're an avid coffee drinker like me, I suggest you do the same. Let's hurt the pockets because you
Well,
can't just
look. I would say
make your coffee at home.
exactly.
Shout out to Stalin.
Don't boycott it. Just never buy it again.
Yeah,
Like
which
that.
is boycotting it. Yeah, not buying it. I'm not even gonna look at a Starbucks.
Well, I think a
store in the
boycott.
city.
I would have to look it up, but I think it
A boycott is
indicates
just not.
you will do it again once they capitulate to your.
Oh no, I'm done
needs
for life.
once.
I'm done for life. I'm done for life. So yeah, if you guys know of any black owned or minority owned coffee shops in the city that I could use, just give me some suggestions. When I'm in the city, I want to support small local mom and pop coffee shops. I'm done with Starbucks forever, and I want every single one of you guys to hold me accountable. I'm saying it live on air. That's it. Starbucks, you could kick rocks, all right? And let's sip some homemade coffee. What about you, Patrick? What did they make you say this week? What is this nigga crying?
Nah. They made me say your president is trying to slow walk you to a dictatorship.
Oh yeah, damn! You start off this heavy, bro. Shit.
No. I mean, I just look for
Uh,
everybody that's, I guess, kind of, oh well, this is or this and that. Like, I mean, one of those first signs, like using or attempting to use your military on your citizens. So I don't know what we think this is, but again, he has that history of, if you're not with him, no matter where you're at, if you're poor, you're dirt poor, you're filthy rich, if you're not with him, he'll give you
He's
the
not
finger and he'll throw you out like
and
yesterday's
throw a fit
trash.
and go head in his
So
little bunker.
let's not think that, oh well, you only with him if you kiss his ass.
That's true.
Anyway,
That's
I didn't
very
mean to
true.
start. So
Damn. But it's
Anyway.
true. You guys should
This got
take
so
notice
dark.
of that, right? That's why he was crying. You
Nah,
should have
look,
cried a lot more to like,
I
before you
wasn't
release a
crying. I'm
message.
just like people
It's
again. And Stalin made a good point when we were talking yesterday that we're focused on this, but even how you brought up Starbucks, yes, they might make these changes, but do they actually mean it? I mean, I don't know. I'm not in those rooms with people, but I doubt it.
I'm not even gonna mention their names anymore.
All right, Stabix.
The Bucks.
Bucks.
The Bucks.
All right, Stalin, what they made you say this week?
For me, I think I was actually one of my biggest outrages was this company, Colossal Media,
Oh yeah.
because I'm someone that really supported that company. Like
Yeah.
I used to see them around from like they were like very young.
Was it a
And I used to see
startup?
like I'm not sure if it was a startup. I mean, like every company has a startup, but I just remember like seeing them more prevalent, like around like Williamsburg and like Bushwick and like the city, and like they used to have like these beautiful murals for like advertising for companies, but they also had like really cool like just art sometimes. So I thought
Mm.
that was like really cool and really supported. And I think the thing that really like pissed me off. So wait, let me just backtrack because of the story. So they like posted like this big mural that they painted about like saying unity and not hate, like
Oh
supporting the
my
Black Lives
God.
Movement.
Yeah.
And this guy that used to intern for them, his name was Joshua. Like
Shout
he
out to
came out,
Joshua.
yeah, he came out with the story that he used to intern for them, and he used to work like 12-hour days, like sometimes 6 to 7 days a
For free?
week. Yeah, I mean he was an intern, he was like waiting to get a job. So
Companies need to start paying interns. I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh, for sure.
yeah, it's really weird. And he worked with them, like worked his ass off. He thought he really like was gonna
Earned it.
earned it, get in the company, and he worked on the Jumpman 23 campaign, and he was working the whole day, like just painting the mural and stuff. And then he comes, and just the other employees are like drinking a beer, and they ask him if he did the mural, and then he was like, yeah, like that was me. And then they were like, of course he would give it to the N word,
Ah,
like straight to his face, like nothing. And he was just in shock. And he was like, did you just call me this? And then they were like, they just didn't care and just kept laughing. And, they did it again. And he tried to go
again?
to, yeah. And then he tried to go to management. And the guy was like, that's just how they are. And like, there
What
was
do
like,
you mean? That's
yeah. And then like,
uh
nothing was done. And then like, he commented on the actual photo of the mural that they posted, and they deleted his comment and blocked him. So they like he like called him out, and he posted on
Right.
social media. And then it started like spreading.
spreading.
And like he knows people that I know in my network. Like I don't know him personally, but I was just like really outraged because it's like pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
It's someone that's like working their ass off for you, and then
Yeah.
like to treat them like that. And it's like
I could
so
actually
hypocritical.
yeah, I could actually spread that message like on a wider platform because there's this huge page for the George Floyd protest movement that I do happen
Oh yeah.
to sort of know the people behind it. Um, did he make a post?
Yeah. Colossal
Okay.
Media actually came out with like a statement already, but it's like, the
What
damage
do you
is
mean a
done.
statement? Also, is there any form of law offices that deal with this kind of racial inequalities at work or racial discrimination at work? I feel like he has the right to sue the company. I don't know if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
For yeah, and I think he should take them up on it.
Oh yeah.
I think he
Yeah.
should.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen next, but I think the thing that really like got to me is because I've seen them like work, like they're workers, because they're like a lot of
Mhm.
their work is like prevalent in Williamsburg, and I tend to hang out there a lot, especially by the pier.
Freaking
So
hipster.
it's just like a cool area, man.
Mm.
And And let's not get into gentrification because that's a whole other
It's
topic.
like, nah, I like Williamsburg. Let's ignore that guy.
Well, I mean, if we don't have to get into the topic, but I would say I'm not surprised in the way that they were acting towards him due to the
Yeah.
areas that they are working in. So they
Yeah.
feel entitled to speak to someone in that
Dude, nah,
manner.
yeah, I'm gonna smack somebody.
Yeah.
And
Bro.
especially you said the manager was a man of color, correct?
Yeah, he was Puerto Rican actually. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I know how they feel about black folks sometimes, but um, you know, I think that's the issue is that people just have come to this term of acceptance that, oh, that's just the way it is. And to me, that's weak. Like you've given up any fight in
Yeah.
you. Like you have no fight in you. And that's another reason why they felt they felt like, yeah, I could say this because what's his name over there that he just accepts it for what it is anyway.
Accepts
So
it.
he's not gonna say anything. And he, we say stuff to him and he says stuff back and we have just a jolly good time. And that's a problem too, where people allow people to call them out of their name. And it's like you can't give
Put them in
people
a place,
that,
yeah.
opportunity. That's not
An
something you
argument for
should do.
that will be people also going with the sentiment that that doesn't define who they are. Because I've heard that argument too, saying,
What doesn't
"Oh
define who
well,
they
they
are?
could call me the N word, but it doesn't really affect me."
No, I mean,
But I
it
think the
could.
fight is bigger than that.
You may
I
It's
think
not.
more.
Go
I
ahead,
think
Stanley.
Patrick's referring to like the manager and why
Oh,
he did anything about it. But I think I think like being a minority, and this happened 5 years ago, so it's just
damn.
coming on to light. But it's like when you're a minority and like you're in a predominantly like white environment with white
Mhm.
workers and management is all white, it's like even if you want to do something about it, you kind of don't want to battle because you kind of think that you've already lost the fight
Mm,
because you have all of them against you,
yeah,
and it's like
it takes a lot of effort.
a lot of effort, but also sometimes like if you make a company look bad, like what do they do? They'll like
Blacklisted. Yeah, they will.
not even blacklisted, but like they have the power to sue,
Mm,
and minorities can't really afford that. It's
yeah,
so
unless you
many
find pro
fees.
bono lawyers and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you're pro bono, that doesn't mean they're necessarily good lawyers,
True.
you know. And that's the problem. That's why like these companies and like law is so much money because the best lawyers get paid a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually
Yeah.
not because of like the law, but who they know. So it's like I feel like it's recent now that we're like the whole nation is coming together and like fighting this, but before it was like people were trying to fight it, but it wasn't as much
Oh,
support,
yeah, and it
and it
wasn't
True.
was
magnified on the scale.
yeah, and it was like still very hard for someone to like speak up out of like fear,
Mm.
like the repercussions and retaliation, because it's like if you look at our history, it's like anytime someone tries to do something, it's like they're put down, you know. And many people
Mm.
don't want to be martyrs, they don't, and I don't blame them. It's like they don't. It's not like they don't have the courage or intelligence, but and stuff like that. But or that they're not good people. It's just they have other things to worry about, and they always comes first. Like
Like a place to
it,
sleep and food to eat.
Oh,
Nah,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
the
but
yeah,
that's why I
just
say,
luxuries of life.
even going through this lockdown, I think it's great to, and granted, I guess everybody doesn't have the means to do this, but it's good to set different things up for yourself. So not to
yeah,
be dependent on that one thing. Because
yeah,
regardless of any of this, like let's just say the company is just doing terribly and they have to let a whole bunch of people go. If you haven't set anything else up for yourself or for your
They're gonna have
family,
to start applying for another job
and then
again.
you might
Same
be
cycle.
ass out and
He
you
said
don't
ass
want,
out.
yeah, ass out, shit out of luck, whatever, like, and you don't want to be that way. Another point, going back to what you were talking about, Hassan, is that
Hassan.
when
Hassan. Thank you.
um is that when people say, oh, this doesn't define me, you just have, I think people of color need to stop and really think what that means. When you're giving someone the power to say that to you, to call you this racial slur, getting a hard off. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I want to say it. I want to say it.
Again, that
Like, why do you want to
hard,
say that
hard.
so bad? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you want to say that so bad? Because they want to feel like they're dominating you. Like they can say that to you, and guess what? You're okay with it, and you're gonna be okay with it. That's all.
All right. So if any people out there say the N word to me, you know what's about to happen, man. I know pro bono lawyers. Just putting that out there. Good ones too. Good ones too. So, but no, this was actually a great way to start it. Again, Stalin, one more time. I'm gonna go look into the colossal media stuff. I'm gonna read the statement. I think they should be held accountable for their actions. I'm gonna try to push some attention towards this matter. Uh, I've been absent on social media for again a few days, but I'll post about it and try to get like some traffic going onto it. If I could get in contact with what's his name again, Joshua?
Yeah.
If I can get in contact with him, that'd be great too at some point. But yeah, damn, you two came with the heavy stuff. I came on Starbucks.
That is still pretty heavy, you know.
Yeah, it is pretty heavy. It's more on the actually interesting thing. The Bucks actually is closing down 400 stores, and that was when I was thinking about buying the stocks before the statement came out. They were
Wait,
thinking
what
about closing
company?
Starbucks, the Bucks.
It's the
Oh,
bigs.
Yeah, the bigs. They're closing up 400 stores to permanently make them into pickup locations because I
hmm.
think that's what the business model has turned to due to the COVID-19
I
crisis.
mean, yeah, retail's dying, man.
That's another topic for another day, man. Mm-mm. All right, Pat, take us away.
All right, fellas.
Produce of
Today,
Pat's.
exactly. Pause.
Ah.
So today we'll be talking about how we came to our own creativity as individuals, and what created that foundation for each of us. So, who would like to start?
I think let's give the platform to our guest. Not guest. He owns our executive producer, Stalin Levy Chiska, to take this one away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So what is like creativity? So if we look up the definition of creativity, it's like the use of the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work, you know?
Damn, bars, yo.
So, I feel like a lot of people, they get scared when they hear creativity. And I hear a lot of people say, I'm not creative,
I'm not
Mhm.
creative, yeah.
because I feel like people always think that it's related to the arts. And there's like many different forms of creativity, but
Yeah.
for right now, I think we're going to focus on the artistic aspect, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Why do you think that there's that? I don't want to call it a stigma, but why do you think there's some sort of um unparalleled attention to the arts when it comes to creativity? Why does that get most of the shine where people don't think creativity can surpass the boundaries of just art?
I think it's because of the use of language. Like I think like every word that we use has like different connotations and how we use it. Because I feel like ever since we're kids, we've heard the word creativity, and it's like being creative. It's always been related to like painting, drawing, like
Stick figures.
filmmaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you can be creative in business, but usually you don't call it that. Like there's different jargons, different terms. So I feel like
Understood.
the word creativity has always just been associated with the arts. I might be
Yeah.
wrong, but from like my experience personally, that like that's how
Right.
No,
I've always
I
seen
think
it.
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
You hit the nail right on the head there. But I digress. Continue, my good friend.
Yeah. So, um, what is my primary focus when it comes to my creativity is filmmaking,
Mhm.
but I just don't let it like stop there. It's like, that's why this podcast is a great project. It's helping me be creative in other forms,
Yeah.
working with audio and like telling like a story through just hearing. We could probably like this is gonna go on YouTube, but we could upload on other platforms where you don't see an image and it's
Yeah.
just
And
through
that's coming soon as
audio.
well. We're just figuring this whole audio situation out.
Yeah. Um and I feel like you always have to be creative in like many different forms because it all ties back to like your main thing. But for me, yeah, I feel like filmmaking is my main source of creativity because I feel like it's the best way for me to express myself, especially
Mm-hmm.
like emotionally, but also like what I see because I'm a very like visual person. I've always been, especially growing up, like I've always been a visual learner. And I've always been like taking towards movies and films, you know, ever since I was a child. And it took me a while to realize that. And books, but I've tried like writing like in a novel way, but it just
Yeah.
didn't work for me. It didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Well, how
Like
did you? What was kind of like that? I guess I won't say breaking point, but the
Spark.
point of realization. Like, okay, I'm really. It's beyond just the interest of watching, but I want to try this for myself.
uh let's see. It was definitely like in college. I remember the first time like I ever tried to do something. Well, video wise was like my sophomore year, and I picked up the camera, I tried shooting, and it was so bad that I was like I got discouraged and like I put
Mhm.
it down. Like I literally didn't come.
Overexposed ass video.
Yeah, it was like overblown. Like it had like no continuity. Like I didn't know what the hell I was trying to say. Like you know,
Mhm.
and so I stopped, and I don't know. I just didn't like. I lacked like the confidence, and I was like very insecure, which I feel is like another thing that holds back a lot of people. And I
Yeah.
feel like
True.
that's another. I think I got it. We can touch upon that like later on
Yeah.
because it did take me a while to like actually like get a camera and just like start shooting until
Mm.
like my senior year. And I think for me, it was definitely like in college that I realized it, that I started having interests, you know,
Yeah.
and just exploring too. Because if I tell like well, I'll start from like the beginning, like from when I was a kid.
The Genesis.
Yeah. So it's like growing up, like my parents were like, they were like always working. Like, you know, I'm a first generation immigrant
Shout
child.
out to all first generation immigrants. Yeah.
Yeah. Like shout out to like, like
Right.
all the parents that just like, you know, just
Did that for
got their
their
stuff and
kids.
did that for their kids, you know, for a better
Yeah.
future. Cause it's like,
It's a beautiful
I've,
thing.
I've thought about that and it's like the same thing would be like if I myself like just pack a bag with no money and I move to China and like don't know the language and just start from there. It would be like the same thing from
Yeah.
like our parents coming from their country here, you know. And
Yeah.
that's
It
really
takes a
goddamn
lot.
scary.
That's
It
a
takes like a lot of like mental strength, you know, and you know, coming here like my parents didn't like it wasn't a really like it wasn't easy for them, you know,
mm-hmm.
especially like being like having no college education.
Mhm.
Like, you know, my parents didn't have college education, but they're probably some of the smartest people I've ever known.
Beautifully said. Damn.
Yeah.
You have a
And
way with words, man.
thank you. But yeah, as a child, like sometimes it would always be working. At one point, like we weren't like in the best financial situation, so they sent me to Ecuador to live there for like 2 years. And
Yeah.
so like you know, because back then they had another currency, and if you sent like U.S. dollars, like it was like a lot of money. So I stayed
Yeah.
with my grandma. But once they got like their some sort of stability, like they brought me back, you know, and like with my sister. And like my mom used to like do babysitting, and I used to like help her out. And
Yeah.
my dad used to like just work day and night, sometimes like weekends. Sometimes I wouldn't even see him. But
That's that's crazy. Shout out to your dad, man.
Yeah, hustling.
yeah, for real. And but the one thing we would always do and that we all loved was watch movies and
Mm.
watch films. And it's like the one thing that we did like splurge on because they were like they're very frugal people and they taught me to be very frugal,
Yeah.
like to like never spend more than like you earn and like live below your means to like save your
Mm-hmm.
money and like don't
Yeah.
waste it on things that you don't need.
Got
And
my
but the one
shoes.
thing, yeah, but the one thing that we always did used to like spend on was the movies, and like on the weekends we'd always used to go. And you know, it was beautiful. It's like from as a child, like I used to like love sitting in the theaters and watching them and seeing the stories. And it was never about for me about like you know how people look at actors in the movie and they're like, oh my god, I
Oh
want to be
yeah.
like this. You know, it's like that's their dream. It's like that talks to them.
Yeah.
But for me, it was always like, man, that's like those are beautiful colors, or that's like a cool shot, or like a great
As a
sequence.
kid, how old were you then?
Um, really, like really, really young. I mean, I remember like the one movie that I remember always watching, especially with my mother, was Forrest Gump because she loves that
Yeah.
movie, and it's like something I always watch. But yeah, like we always used to like just watch movies, and that was like our treat. Sometimes we would go to like the movies and watch like 3 different movies in one day, you know.
What's up?
And if you skipped in, if you've like, skipped into another movie, you know exactly how that is, man. Just
Hell yeah.
keep it low. Have you ever been chased by the dude with a flashlight? I was telling Patrick the story you want.
Yeah.
I got chased once, man.
The
It's
one
like,
thing the
what
one
up?
thing I always learned was to like always act like you belong, especially in the movie theaters. Cause dude, one time it was my mom's sister and I, and we literally went to the movies at like we got there like at 10 a.m. and we didn't get back home till like 1 a.m. because we were like the whole day just watching movies and like
What's up?
Yeah, that's lit.
Oh wait,
it was
wait,
Uh,
hold up. What's your favorite thing to take into the movie theater?
damn,
I love gummy worms.
really?
Yeah, I love gummy worms or gummy
Uh,
bears.
yeah, but there's different kinds. So gummy worms, birds, gummy chickens. Oh
What?
my god.
Gummy chicken.
Why haven't they made gummy chickens? Like you make all these.
Maybe that's you.
They made a bear and they made
Chicken flavored gummies.
worms. Oh, GHQX KFC gummy chickens. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm with this weird guy that takes protein bars into movies.
You're always about your fitness, Hassan.
I'm not.
Even
I
as a
don't.
kid,
And as a kid,
I'm
dude,
talking
I
about your
grew up in
movie
Ghana. There was no
prime.
movies,
Oh,
bro.
I'm like, no, like college, like
College. Oh,
like
yeah.
younger.
Coke Zero, because that's my way of like actually being part of the movie culture. I don't really like popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm just making myself sound like I'm not fun at all,
Nah,
but
nah.
I'll
Everybody
eat
got their own
candy. Yeah,
thing.
I'll
Yeah.
eat candy sometimes, but I was big on just. I'll probably take healthy snacks like some sort of nuts or like
No, I
water.
feel it. I
Yeah,
mean, I think for me, there was this movie theater everybody used to go to. I think it was real affordable, and like you could get there like in
it was
Cleveland.
free. That's why it
Nah,
snuck
nah. It
in.
was like it was called Movies 10, and it was in like damn, it was near like Richmond Heights. And everybody would go there. Um, I like as a kid, I would take. I remember me and my one boy like we would take like Oreos in there, like we because there was like a giant eagle like next door. I would say
hmm
we would take that. Sometimes I take chicken sandwiches in there,
Yeah.
whatever.
A whole grill in there.
Hey, look, I'm cool on that popcorn. Like I'm trying to take
Oh,
my
yeah.
my meal in there.
Oh, I've taken Chipotle in there once,
Yeah,
twice,
man. Present
3 times
day,
actually.
all I really do is water. And then I'll take something from the outside, so maybe like some almonds or
Yeah.
uh
Again,
things of that
why
nature.
don't they sell some form of like healthier snack at the movies? I know I'm sounding like a hell nut right now.
Nah,
Like
nah. I
it's
think
the movies.
I
You're
think
supposed to
it's
let go
a
and
good
enjoy. Like,
question. But let's venture back to styling.
yeah.
So it was always like movies, and I remember one of like the one things like my dad did splurge on was even like a home theater system. And I remember
Mm.
like that was amazing. Like we just watched movies and literally like sometimes I'd be like by myself and I would just like watch movies all day. Like always pop in like the DVD and then just like
Oh damn, nostalgia.
yeah, just watch so many movies. And the crazy part was like once I started like got like a computer and access to it. Like I mean DVDs before had like the special features
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I always used to watch like everything. Like I didn't understand why. Like I wasn't like really rationalizing why I was doing it. I just knew I liked it.
Mm.
So it's like later on when I start to like become more self-aware and look back and like think of my interests that it all starts to like hit, you know.
So you'd
So,
watch the director's cut and everything.
yeah, but it's like the special features was also like the directors and they're interviewing the actors and like
Mm.
how they do it and they show like the how it was shot and like behind the scenes and that's the one thing I always used to like to watch. Like I didn't really care about the interviews, maybe the director and stuff, but I always used to like to
Mhm.
watch like how the production was going, like where was the camera, how did they shoot the scene, like why does it look like this, like in this angle, you know. And
Yeah.
I never really understood why, but I was just always gaining this knowledge, but I wasn't doing anything with it. But again, I was like very young.
Mm.
This is something that like stuck with me like forever. And as a kid, like I also used to like be in like these after school programs that were like related to art. So I used to like learn about the history of art and do like many projects. I used to like do painting, drawing, like 1 point perspective. And the one thing I remember that we did that I really loved was like one part of the program was like actually like we had to make a short film like with claymation.
Mhm.
And like
Oh,
that was like my first, like I think like ever like my first film, I'd say. And it was called Midnight Stack.
do you
And it
still
was
have
about
it?
like, no, I don't, it's like it's been years.
Damn.
But it was part of a program and they showed it at a museum actually. But I
Oh,
never, yeah, I never got to see it, unfortunately. But yeah, it was called Midnight Snack, and it was like about this alligator that wakes up in the middle of the night and he's hungry. So then he like goes to the fridge, like makes a sandwich, eats it, and then goes back to sleep. It was very short, but
yeah,
it was storytelling for a kid, because I was like in
yeah.
elementary school.
Oh yeah, and you
And
feel
Fighting
proud of
alligator
that,
though.
like you
Yeah,
know what I'm saying.
yeah,
You did that. You put it together.
yeah,
So
yeah. And like I guess from there, like I always saw like the beauty and like the arts and artistic, and like going on and moving forward, like I always try to like keep that. And in middle school, I always made sure like I took like an art class. In high school
yeah,
too, like I always made sure that like I was like around artistic people, or I was still watching movies or like reading up on the arts. It was just something
yeah.
that stuck with me. I guess like creativity like was always inside me trying to get out, but I just
Hmm.
wasn't like really paying attention. But
channel it right.
yeah, but the
Yeah,
interest was there,
yeah.
you know.
I
And I'm
yeah.
sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna highlight that it was the total opposite for me. You
Hmm.
know how you got introduced to art at an early age, and the
Yeah.
whole entire programs that allowed you to express your creativity in all different forms.
Hmm.
And even with like middle school and high school, you had the chance to kind of take classes that would interest you and like expand your mind on the art. I spoke about this in our episode of,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't have that. So it took me a while to develop that. And I remember, you don't remember this, but one time I came into the Hunter Library and you were watching a music video and you were so enamored by it that like when I walked past, you were like, "No, Hassan, wait, watch this. Look at how this is shot. This is telling the story." In my head, I'm like, "Look at this weirdo, man." It's what's he watching? This song is not even lit. Like it don't even bump. But again, at
Yeah.
that point, I still wasn't. I haven't actualized that part of my brain or that part of my identity. I didn't really know what type of shots you were talking about. All I knew was just bio, school, soccer, and that was it. It
Yeah.
wasn't until I think a year or 2 years later when my mind started to actually capture these things. Something that happened 2 years ago as a kid, where I started looking at these shots and I was like, wait a minute, the color. Then I watch music videos and then I'm like, okay, I see what Stalin is talking about, especially the indie music videos.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
that's something I just when you were saying that, I was just thinking about it. I'm like, oh, it's
Yeah.
interesting. You had the opposite of it was the opposite of what happened to me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
had that
I'll
exposure
get back.
earlier.
I'll get back to that point actually, because music videos
Yeah.
had like a very big impact for me on like gaining my confidence into doing
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And
So continue.
yeah, so from early on, like I had been exposed to like painting, drawing, like that kind of art, and I was always reading too. So that's like a form of
Mm.
arts. Writing and books are like beautiful for me. I still like read very prominently because it really shows you how to tell a story.
Yeah.
But it's different from like a movie. Like a movie is a story through images, and then like a novel is just really based on writing, and like there's like so many different structures. And I tried that once, but I just couldn't. It just felt like a pain, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is definitely not for me. And in middle school, I used to play the violin, so I've tried music, but
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah, I've played the violin, and I've tried like making music in high school too. I got into like
Hmm.
trying to see like if I could make beats and stuff, but it just didn't like it didn't bring that like thing that like like wow, like I like this. It didn't give me that
Yeah.
flow like film does, because it's
Mm.
like because yeah, whenever I'm like doing filmmaking, it's like it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like like something I
It
want to
just
do. I'm
flows. Yeah.
present.
You
It
don't have to
flows.
think too much. It's pretty. It's just
Yeah.
there. You just do it. Damn, I'm trying to
Yeah.
hear those early beats, bro.
Nah, I just never kept them. Like they were
Wait.
trash.
Wait, you remember those? Have you seen that
That's not.
meme
You
of
will
the clown
never.
beat?
You will never freestyle on this podcast.
Oh, come on, man. Let me just give the people what they want. I've bing trying to. No, but
Unless you got a
Stalin.
second round of stimulus checks, I don't think it's
It just kills the whole show. No.
Yeah.
Stalin, remember those clown beats where like it's just like clown horns and
Oh
the
yeah.
meme is that when your friend makes a beat but it doesn't bump but you're trying to hype him up.
Yeah. Really. Wait, have
I'm
you
like,
seen that
like
that clip of like LeBron James in like the studio? He's like,
yeah. And the beat is just like
it's
clown
like
horns
trash.
going beep
Yeah.
boop. Bah.
Yeah. That's like my
That's also
favorite
like,
one.
ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you're trying to tell them. Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
The Tmsi boy.
See, that's why. That's why.
That's why.
I'm a past that and continue.
Yeah. So then, yeah, once high school came, like the incident was very prominent. So I just started like reading up on like movies and how it was shot. So I used to read up like on all my favorite movies and, just seeing how it was shot, what the director had to say, the inspiration, like the metaphors. And I always had like all this knowledge about like filmmaking. And, it was just for fun. Like sometimes I'd just be watching YouTube videos on analysis and stuff. And I never really understood it. And I was like, until like later on in college when I started to become more self-aware, like I kept reading and I got to meet like so many more creatives and, I really started to think and yeah, like there was also a lot of photographers. So I was like, I got into photography earlier. That's why like you see, I don't know if you see here, like the wall of photos, those like all my
Yeah, I was
prints,
looking at
all my
that mask
photos.
actually.
Yeah. That's actually a mirror. So it's like reflecting like what what
Oh,
would be. Yeah.
damn! Look at him still producing in the crib too. I'll put that reflection here so you guys could. I see what you did
Yeah.
there.
So it's like yeah, that's like my wall of prints. And it's like I have like a window, but it's like I don't see anything. So I always see this as like not only my inspiration, but like it's like my window to the outside world.
That's
Oh,
what's up, man.
Yeah.
metaphors.
Yeah. So I have it that like that. I have to add more prints too.
Yeah. Are those
But
Polaroids or?
no, those are 35 millimeter.
Oh, actually, did you develop them yourself or?
No, I got them developed because I feel like I wanted to learn that, but then I was like,
It's a lot of money. I'll tell you that
yeah,
for
that's what
sure.
I'm saying. And it's like I don't have like you need the chemicals, the dark room, and then it's
Yeah.
like
Hunter had it though. When I used to take film
yeah,
photography, I would have snuck you in there.
yeah.
I mean, we can
But I
still
don't know.
go
I
back
just
and use it once they're open. Why not?
yeah, I just didn't see like the point. I mean, I get why people do it, but it's like now it's
It
like
could be a lot
instead of
easier.
learning that, yeah, I can learn something else because it's like now we
Yeah.
don't. If I shoot a 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter, I'm not gonna be developing that. Like you have to take it to like an actual house,
Yeah.
develop that,
Yeah.
And these photos, like I can just like get them developed. It's like a hobby. Like my main concern was like just shooting and not doing that. So
And directing the shot and the perspective of it.
yeah, yeah, and that's what I started doing first. So like photography, I bought like the 35 millimeter camera from like a friend of mine for like $100, which is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I just started taking photos, but then I stopped. I don't know. I don't know why. I
That
guess like
happens.
yeah,
That
it stops.
happens.
Like sometimes
Yeah.
you stop, and I guess like I just realized it brought me happiness,
Mm.
and later on I just picked it up again, and then my sophomore year, like my friend bought a camera, and I was like, yo, let me try and shoot something, and it was just so bad. I tried editing, and it was horrible.
I hate
I got
editing.
discouraged, and yeah, it just kept going like that, and then I just kept watching a lot of films, learning about them. Took some classes in Hunter.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until like my senior year where like it's really funny actually because I got into like when I really started was because I met this girl at
I
Hunter.
knew it. Yo,
I was like
he was like, I met
that
this.
was,
I'm like, yep.
so I was like I
Uh-huh.
was honestly like just me trying to mac. So I go up to like this girl
Oh, you like photography?
who was in my class because I was
Shit.
it's like I didn't study film in college. I did a double major in economics and in media. So
Yeah.
for econ, I had like corporate finance, and there was like this one really cute girl, and I was like I wanted to talk to her, and I was like, there's never a chance because we were in class. I'm not gonna be goddamn rude. And like,
Russell was like, I'm not even gonna let you get a chance.
yeah. And then, I saw her in the library and I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna shoot my shot, and then I just went up to her and then like we just started talking, and it really got into a very like great conversation about the movie Call Me by Your Name. And we got into like a really deep like convo about it. And I was like talking about filmmaking, and she was talking about like how it seems like she can tell the passion and like in it when I talk about it. And I realized like everyone that ever spoke to me whenever I spoke about films, they said the same thing. It's like, you're very passionate about film. Like when I hear you talk, it's like personally they're not really that interested in like the backgrounds of the film.
Subject
So like,
matter. Yeah.
or the subject matter or like how it was made, but they're like just hearing like the passion in you just like makes me want to listen.
Mm.
And I feel like, you know, people will always like want to hear someone passionate, because I feel like we lack that, and it's beautiful. And that's when I just started thinking, and then I was like, I became more self-aware, and then I was like, I look back, I was like, okay, like let's see, like what I really want to do, because it's like my senior year of college. It's like, what do I really want to do? Life's really about to start.
Yeah.
And I just looked back, and then I started from really early on, and then it just like all just clicked, and it just made sense. And I had like some cinematography friends, and I was like always shouting them out and saying like, yo, like I love your work. And I was always like very inspired, and like seeing it, I was just like, damn, like it's amazing that they're doing this. And yeah, it all just clicked, and I realized like I was always watching movies as a kid.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing. I really loved it. I was always looking up things about movies, and I had all this knowledge, but I wasn't putting it to use. But it's like, if I'm learning about it and studying it and not complaining, like studying for like school, and it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like work, and it means I really like it. And if I
Mhm.
always just talk about film and I just want to know how something is made, it shows that I'm truly passionate about it. And
Yeah.
very visually. And then you know I just bought a camera. I was just like, yo, like
Was it
it's time.
the
It's
mirrorless
the
one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
A7 III. And I like financed it, so I was like paying it off in a year, and I just started like shooting stuff. And I also started reaching out to people on like social media, like very
Yeah.
predominant like cinematographers and directors. And I was like, I didn't care if they like responded or not. I was just like, hey, like I know this is random, but I'm like a huge fan of like your work. Like it's very inspiring. I was wondering, I'm trying to start in this business too. I was wondering if you can give me any sort of advice at all. Like that's all I'm
Yeah.
asking, just like advice. And I remember like the one thing that really, really motivated me was like I DM'd this director called David M. Hellman, and he's predominantly like a music video director, but he also does
Yeah.
short films. And I remember watching this one music video that was so beautiful that I got so inspired that I was like, man, I really like this guy. So I looked up the director's name of that music video. I found him on Instagram. He
Mhm.
had a he had like, I think, 5K followers. So
A decent amount. Yeah.
I was like, the probability of him answering is very, very likely. It's like one in
Yeah.
5,000. So
Of
I was like,
course.
those odds are really good. So I just DM'd him, and he was very humbled, such a nice guy. And
Mhm.
he
I
like
love
told me,
that.
yeah. And he was like, hey man, thanks for like reaching out. I'm really humbled that like someone really likes my work like that and is inspired. And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, it's beautiful. And he told me to just like honestly just do it, just shoot. He was like, because you're gonna find your style and you're gonna see what you're into. And he was like, don't just try to imitate, but try to find something that really speaks to you. Something that you really like. And I did the same with like other people. And like there was like this small documentary that YouTube did for J Balvin, and I reached out to the cinematographer, because it's like,
Mm.
if I reach out to J Balvin, it's like one in like
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
He.
20,
Mhm.
25 million. That's like, those odds are really bad. The
Yeah.
director had like, he was like, he had like a really good amount too, but the cinematographer only had like 3K.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna reach out to him, and he told me the same thing. He was like, just do it, just shoot. And he was like, who
Yeah.
cares what,
If
who
someone
cares who
likes it or
sees it or
not.
anything? Yeah. He was like, you're gonna find it. And he was like, just keep being productive like that.
Mm.
So then I just kept like shooting and creating like my own videos. And I reached out to like my friend, and I was like, hey, like I'm really interested in filmmaking. And he was like, I'll get you on the set, but it's like, it's up to you to be like, um,
Proactive.
proactive. So he got me on the set, and I tested it out, and I loved it. I was like, holy shit, like I love this feeling. I love all this work, people coming together and creating. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes working like 14-hour days and it doesn't feel like work, you know. So that's
Can
when I
I?
knew that like,
I just want to
yeah.
make a point real quick. That I believe you were doing, like what you were doing anyway, reaching out was proactive. And I like the
Hmm.
way that you broke down your odds by the
Hmm.
amount of people that were following that individual. Also, I feel like too many people, at least people that I've been around at times, we want kind of like that handout. Like if you know somebody that's already in that industry and you're like,
Hmm.
hey, I can do this. And then we get upset when they don't really bring us
Bring,
along.
yeah.
Hmm.
Rather, you need to put in the work for them to even justify having you there. So
Hmm.
again, just saying I commend you for that, but broader point, people need to actually put in that work, put in the time to even create some sort of foundation for themselves in that industry.
What I
Yeah.
actually have been seeing lately, with creatives, or advice that a lot of creatives are being given, which I think is very important, is that have some sort of portfolio. Just have work out there, even if no one sees it, because
Mhm.
you don't know who you're gonna meet and who's
Yeah.
gonna want to see your work. If you don't have anything, it just sends the wrong message out there. So let's say a random like director wants to see Stalin's work, right? Stalin reached out to him. He's like, okay, let me check out this guy, and then he happened to click on Stalin's profile, or like found Stalin on YouTube, and then there's nothing. You see what type of message that sends, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
As compared to when like Stalin has all these, and he actually has like a lot of all these videos he's directed. He's actually putting in the effort. It shows that, oh, this guy really wants this, and he's out there doing it even without the recognition because he loves it that much. And then that could lead to connections, and that could lead to good good mentorships, or like, just good networking to
Yeah.
propel you to the next level.
And like going to your point, Hassan, it's like people have to realize what the reason why they want to do something. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people do things for the wrong reasons. Like they want to do it because they want to have recognition, they want to have fame. And if that's your main reason, then you're probably not going to go through with it, because if you're not getting that, then it's going to discourage you, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, like, I feel like I was a part of that, like, I want to get recognized and stuff, but it's like, what am I actually saying to be recognized? You know, what am I actually bringing to this world? What kind of art? It's like, it's not even there yet. Like, I'm just starting, you know? But
Right.
I always tell people, like, this is my advice when people want to, like, kind of like figure out what they want to do. And it's like, when you're doing something, try to be self-aware and realize how present you are doing it, because a lot of people are not present in the moment. Like we go
Oh,
about
yeah.
our lives like thinking about like the past, like what
Or
we're gonna
the
do
future.
tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do, or to-do list, and you're not present. But when you find something that when you're doing it, you're completely present and you're not worried about anything and you're like fully there, like follow that, because that's like a great feeling to have, and that's like how people should be living, like in the present moment. And then something gives you that, like pursue it. I mean, of course, it's like if it's morally right and you're not hurting anyone, definitely do it, you know. And I feel like that's my advice, because when I started doing filmmaking, it was like I've never been so present doing something that I was like, it was like almost like being enlightened, and I was like, holy crap, like this is what I need to do, you know.
It's just that like you feel like there's some form of like endorphins being just let out in your brain whenever, especially if it starts going right.
Yeah.
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 The same thing happens to me when I'm starting. But continue with your story. This whole time I was trying to find this director of a music video
Yeah.
that I saw once. I can't remember the music video. That's why I was on my phone the entire time. I was trying to find it to like tell you like I love this guy's that
Do-
direction. It's a small like so I'll find it later and I'll like send it to you. But I wanted to
yeah.
say it on there if other people wanted to check it out too.
Yeah. So then from there, it's like I just like started being more proactive. You know, I was still using like I was still having like a job. You know, like I met Patrick at like, you know, All Saints where we used to work, and then
Yeah.
Hassan. I mean, I met you in college, but I was always being
Shout out to
proactive. It's
soccer.
like, yeah, and it's like I always had like that mindset, like always doing film, but then also like working and finding other avenues, because I'm always like that. Like I always want to have like
Right.
a backup just in case, you know. So I was still
Yeah.
always looking for like internships and like trying to go with my major. But yeah, filmmaking is like the thing that I really love. And it might say it took like a while to realize it, but everything happens at its own pace, and now here I am, and it's like the thing that fuels my creativity. So it's like when I'm shooting or like setting up like a shot or like I'm editing and putting stuff together, it just feels right. Unlike when it comes to like writing, where it was just like, ugh, like I hate doing
Oh
it, trying
yeah.
to think of story, or like painting and stuff like that. It's just filmmaking is something like I love and I want to keep doing and get better, and then just like express myself through it. And it's like steps. It's like in the beginning, I just wanted to make a pretty image, and it's like I feel like I've gotten to the point where I can make a pretty image, but now I want to go deeper. It's not about just the composition, but I want to focus more on like the lighting and how like the light is going to make it an emotional. It's going to convey a certain emotion or like story, and through working and thinking of those stuffs, it just makes me more creative. And I feel like in order to be creative, like you need to find something first, like an outlet that you kind of like,
Yeah.
and and just do it. Even if you like, you don't really necessarily have to like have a passion for it, but just liking it can be enough to like keep fueling that.
For sure.
I feel you. Patrick, do you want to undertake you know, the same question as to how you, came
Yeah,
upon
for sure.
the creativity in your individual sense?
I believe for myself, I mean, when we did our episode on, I guess, just who we are, kind of
You know,
like our
background,
origins,
origin
background.
story. Shout out, Marvel, Tmsi origin story.
um, just for like a recap, like I came up alone, by myself between like my mothers and my fathers. So I always kind of grown up wish I had somebody else that could relate to me just in the
Hmm.
current moment. Like, not having like, a lot of people that I knew, like they had a brother, or sister, maybe they lived with a cousin, or, I didn't have anybody. So for me, it was more so, I guess, finding a way to, it would sound kind of crazy, I guess, but having someone else there with me in a
Hmm.
sense. So I'm creating things. So when I was in elementary school, at this after school program, because again, I didn't have anyone to go home to.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know if it's after school program. It's just like you're there after school, but
Yeah.
um,
your
and
parents didn't want you home.
I guess not. Nah, but some of the other kids there, like they kind of enjoyed some of the same things. So we like everyone had this idea for comic books. Everybody would write their own comic book, and I guess that's kind of like where I learned how to draw. Like I would teach myself to draw from that point. So
Hey guys, real quick, I'm gonna take a break because I have to use the restroom. I'll
oh
be
yeah,
right
go
back.
ahead.
Okay, wait.
I'll
Oh, it
pause it.
doesn't know where,
All right.
and we're back.
So what were you gonna share?
So just a moment. I have found the director I was talking about a few moments ago. Um, just a little tidbit. What? God damn it! This word tidbit. Whatever. Just a little
Tidbit.
thing. Tidbit.
Yeah,
Tidbit.
there you go.
You're good. You're
Just
good.
a little tidbit. For you guys out there, whenever you're watching a music video or some form of very creative short film or anything like that on YouTube, once you click on the info, you can find who the artist is signed to. You can find his distribution company, and you can find who edited that video and who directed it.
Mm,
So, the artist I was talking about, the musician's name is Brandon Banks. He makes some form of R&B, moody, groovy esque music, and his director is called Jacob Kuba. Jacob, Kuba. And I'll just say, watch Brandon Banks' music video, Blue, and then just watch it. And after you watch it, you see exactly what I'm talking about. I had to go find that guy on IG and, like, you know, I think I sent him a message, or like I told him, yeah, I sent him a message. I was like, I love your stuff. Super humble guy, and he responded too. So Jacob Cuba, if you want to, like, go check him out. But he does really, really like beautiful, beautiful work, and he's
I'm
still
looking
fairly
it up
small.
now.
Yeah, Jacob Cuba, director.
what's
And I
up?
remember Brandon was saying in the post once where he was like, shout out to Jacob because even though my budget was very small when it came to the music videos, this guy stretched it and made really beautiful art from it. You know, so Brandon Banks, his director was Jacob Cuba, and yeah, that's all I had. You can go ahead now, Patrick.
um, so where did I leave off? I'm
We're
playing.
talking about comic books.
Yeah, so being after school, I guess that's where I first learned how to draw. So I would take images that I had in my head from going to like the bookstore with my father, and I remember just picking up the comic books. I don't know if y'all did the same thing, like you go into the bookstore, and I don't know, I would just love looking at
Oh yeah.
different drawings, different things of that nature.
I actually used to
Uh,
draw as a kid too. I was getting
yeah.
pretty good at it, and I stopped. Yeah,
But damn, why you stop?
soccer.
But you know, I kept doing that, and then I would keep drawing, like just whatever. My father would be outside cutting the grass, or maybe my mother would be making dinner, and this is at their each separate place, and I didn't have anyone to kind of speak to or talk to or to play with as a kid, unless I went outside or something like that. But you have days where
Yeah, you just chilling in
nobody's
the crib.
outside. So that
Oh, Patrick.
gave me boo-hoo. But that gave me the I guess something to entertain myself with other than watching TV or something like that as a child. And then from there I just got into different things. So being in art class as a kid, learning how to paint, learning how to draw, um, so on and so forth. So that expanded my mind to more options. And speaking with my father when I was younger, he placed me in these programs. There's the Cleveland Institute of Art, and they have these smaller art classes.
Mhm.
So I did everything from like painting, drawing, graphic design, photography. I feel like I did something else, but all of that stuff interests me, and I just kept going towards that. I'm someone that really loves sports, and I do like business. I like to understand that, coming up with ideas, and even as a kid, like building different things. I would just build stuff. Like I had this idea for a self parking garage, and I built it. I built like this conveyor belt from like popsicle
Freaking Patrick
sticks.
Patrick Musk out there as a child.
Like popsicle sticks and floss or something like that. And I was excited. I brought it downstairs. I'm like, look at this. Like, all right, so you can put the car in here, and I have my little Hot Wheel car, like a whole demonstration.
And did it
And
actually like pull
yeah,
the
yeah.
car? Whoa.
So a whole demonstration, or even with Legos. I just love to like just be hands on with things. And then even as I got older and kept going through school, what I learned is that I do like to write, because I'm not someone that I do like to talk, but I'm not someone that just talks. I mean, y'all know me. Like I'm not someone that
Yeah.
just talks and runs my mouth
Mhm.
all day. But I would
Throwing
love to
shots at
write.
me, but it's okay.
Nah.
I'm
But
not Hassania, but okay.
not this guy. But
Yeah.
I would I would just write. So if there would be an essay, and it's like, okay, you only need 2 pages, but I would write 5. And
Mhm.
Oh,
even
you were
one
that
time,
guy, huh?
but no,
I
not
hated
even.
every guy like me in every class.
And it's not to do it to try to get more credit, more points. I just felt my point, what I was trying to say, could not be condensed to those 2 pages. So I need to give the whole idea of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think it was my first year of college, and the professor kept me after class. She said, I really like what you wrote. It's beautiful. She's like, you only had to write, I think it was like a couple pages. I said, yeah, but I'm like, but just look at it. Like if I would have stopped it here, you wouldn't have seen the whole picture. You wouldn't have seen the whole point. Like I
This
wanted
dude
you to
is a different
understand.
breed.
you
Yo, in
know,
college, freestyling, you remember, right? Like, yo, if they say 3 pages, I'm finding enough ways to make that exactly 3 pages. I'm tweaking the periods. I'm over there line spacing. I'm doing everything, dude. There was this. I was doing invisible text at some point too.
Okay.
Like, just I don't, you know. And then there's people like you with 3 pages. Like, times 6. I'll give it 18 pages. Yeah.
I think my problem, it wasn't how to condense it, or damn, I'm struggling with coming up with 3 pages, but how do I try to condense my thoughts into those 3 pages when it's hard for
Mm.
me to, you know?
Mm,
And I think for me, I feel like I always had this focus on business and building like this structured life.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I just came to terms with I like to be creative. I want to try all these different creative things. Like even doing this podcast, I'm not someone that just sits there and just whatever runs my mouth, but I know I have a lot of ideas in my head, and I've even had people close to me like, well, why don't you speak more? Or you have
yeah.
a lot to say, or even the little stuff that you say is like, well, damn, like you should say
Profound, right?
more.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know about all that, but
Uh,
it's
uh,
but just I mean, maybe I've said something that helped someone, or maybe something made sense. And like, well, when you speak, like it's to, it makes sense. You should say something more. Like, okay, well, I do have different ideas,
I
different
got
things I want to
ideas,
share.
man.
Yeah, so like, let me put that out there. So, um, and I think that's part of why I push myself to be creative in this way too. I don't
Yeah.
think I have one specific thing that I enjoy the most. And I think that's what pushed me to go to fashion school, is that
Mm,
I can be creative in all these different areas of that
yeah.
industry,
Uh-huh.
whether it's with design, whether it's with merchandising, so on and so forth. But I guess for me, it's that I never like to limit myself. And I feel like when
Yeah.
you're creative, there's no limits, there's no boundaries, there's nothing. So
Set
I
to that.
think that's why it works good with my mind, because I hate feeling like, okay, I have to fit into this, or I have to
Yeah.
fit into that. It's like, no, you can do whatever. Like there's no boundaries, there's no rules, there's no regulations. It's just creativity. Like we even spoke about the guy that taped a banana to the wall. Like we might think it's silly,
I,
but again, there's no rules, there's no boundaries, there's
I mean,
there's
that thing
nothing
sold
that
for
you
300K
cannot.
plus. So,
Yeah, and to Stalin's point earlier, we shouldn't get into things just. I mean, granted, like we
solely
all
for
we all want
money.
to make a
Sure.
living. Like that's just. I
Yeah.
feel like
But,
that's common
Yeah.
sense.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, when you enjoy something and if people are attracted to it, it will naturally flow to you. And even if it's just a smaller segment of people, guess what? You're making a difference in those people's
And
lives.
they're tuning in. Shout out to
And
all our listeners.
you don't have to be limited to those things. So I think for me, it's like, okay, I can come on here and try this podcast, and I'm not limited to, oh well, Patrick just doesn't speak that much. No, like I want to, and it creativity makes you step outside of your
Of your
comfort zone.
comfort. Yeah.
And that's what I
Yeah.
like, because if you stay locked in your comfort zone, then you can't grow. And
Sure.
I'm a huge fitness person, and Hassan, you
Don't
could
ever
be.
work out with him. Don't do it. If you value your life, no,
But
he will
again,
kill you.
but again, like
No, I mean it. Like, guys, look, I'm looking direct. Don't do it, please. If you value your sanity and your health and your muscles and like just being a real human being and functioning just well, don't do it. This
nah,
dude is something else.
but I mean, even the other day, I got done working out and I went to the bathroom. I was like spitting up blood, and it's like,
What? Yo, you're
You see what
crazy.
I mean? You see what I mean, though?
Wow.
I'm like,
well, I could have
look, I
bit my
want
tongue
abs,
or
but not this
something.
bad. Like, nah.
But again, it's like I tried something. Maybe I pushed too far that day.
Maybe too
But
far.
guess
Maybe
what?
too far is what you
There's
call it.
no there's no boundary there. You know what I'm saying? If I want to grow, develop a muscle, develop a new skill, I have to push myself. I can't just do, okay, I'm gonna do 20 sit-ups, push-ups, and curls today. And if you do that every day, you'll maintain, but you won't grow.
That's my routine. What you talking
And
about, man?
Yeah, Pat, and like and going to your point, I think it's like you have to do that too, so you can know your limits,
Yeah,
so you can know where you have to stop and know where you need to
you
progress and
could
work.
go. Yeah,
oh
I
yeah.
think one of
Yeah.
the best examples of that I've seen was the fight between it was this UFC fight between the Style Bender and his opponent when they went to the point where they were it was a bloody match.
Mm-hmm.
The Style Bender is a Nigerian UFC fighter. I'm just blanking on his name right now, but I
No, you
remember
good.
his moniker. Uh, they fought so hard. I think it's been like deemed as one of the greatest UFC fights ever. And post fight in one of the interviews, the guy said, "I reached a point where I didn't know that I had that in me, and I was willing to die." Like he goes, I was willing to. It registered in me that I'm gonna fight this guy and I'm not gonna lose. And if he kills me, then that's it. But I'm not losing. And then it made me realize that okay, we set these limits, but the points where you could push yourself, like you could
Oh
push
yeah.
yourself to like a very specific point where once you've reached that, you know it's there, and it becomes very easy to reach that point again. Once you've like surpassed your like the levels you set to
And
yourself.
it's gonna sound a little funny, but um I guess working out with my dad always made me think like there's no limit to what I can do because my dad is a diabetic. He would I mean I think he still does to this day, but he would go harder in the past, but he would work out every day, twice a day. And dude is like picking up houses basically. And for me, it's like why there should be no limit. There should be nothing that I cannot try or cannot do. Um,
Mm.
and for me, like something, I guess for me, like, there's some people they say, if you don't do it, you lose it,
Yeah.
which I believe in,
Yeah.
but I feel like for me, it's been, I guess I don't say try so hard, but I try to project like these images, like if I'm drawing onto the paper, like just through my head, like so hard. It's like I can still, hone that skill. Like it's not, I haven't really dropped off too much because I think it's just something I've been so passionate about that it's always gonna be there.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and then it's just, it's exciting to see yourself grow through or break through something like, even what Stalin brought up earlier, like, damn, like, all right, this first film I made, it sucked. Maybe you discouraged. And
Yeah. It's
that's,
very discouraging.
oh
But
yeah,
yeah, you,
Damn.
but you honestly, like, it took me a while to learn that, like, you just got to move past that.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And my bad for cutting you
No,
off.
no, you're good. This is,
Yeah.
we're having
It's a
conversation. That's good.
Yeah.
conversation. It's a conversation, mate.
Yeah.
But, you know, for me, and this I was gonna say, it sounds kind of funny. I don't know if y'all watched it, but Dragon Ball Z is
Oh,
that
hell yeah, bro.
A
What
few
do you
episodes.
what do you mean watched it?
but
Damn, I feel left out.
my
That's not you've
favorite.
never watched Dragon Ball Z?
My siblings I've watched a few episodes, but I never
Okay,
really like
well let me
watched
let me let
in
me.
a linear progression.
Yeah.
So my favorite character was Vegeta,
I know
Oh,
and
Vegeta.
really?
only because like it was just like I connected with them because I too, like, I guess as a kid felt kind of alone. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like just, and what you spoke about with the UFC match, like this dude would push himself to like the end of the, like, until he was ready to die just to advance to this next stage in his life, just to break through to his own limits. Now, was he doing it for the right reason? No, but it's just like, look how passionate this dude is. And it's like, why
Mm-hmm.
can't I try to do this? So when I'm trying to draw something, like, okay, this tree sucks, but I'm gonna keep drawing this thing. So I would sit there and just draw tree after tree after tree after tree after tree after tree until it looked more
More.
realistic. So
Mm.
I guess, that's how I go about some things sometimes. It's just like, and I too like felt those, you feel discouraged at times, but I think you have to just go and do it. Like I remember even it's like a funny story in my family. Like all the boys in the family, like for church, they had to go and do this like Easter speech, and all the boys, I guess, in the family have cried because they had to go up there and do that. And it was crazy. Like even my younger cousins, like they went up there. It was like clockwork. Like they were up there and then they just started crying. And I'm like,
Ah,
damn. But I remember myself going up there as a kid. I didn't cry. I was just like, I messed up.
yo,
I was like, wait, what's this thing again? I'm all right, cool. All right, let me continue. But it's
Yeah.
just like I
they're all
want.
looking at you like, yo, who's this kid?
Yeah,
Freaking psychopath. What
but it's just like
the?
you just have to jump and do it. And that's what I love about creativity. Like you just jump into it. So
Yeah.
even, people are like, oh, I don't like to do speeches in front of class and this and that third. And I think people would look at me as the last person to do that because I don't speak that much, but
Mhm.
I just do it. I just jump in and I do it because there's there's no boundary there. It's just you get up there and you say what you have to say. You know,
Yeah.
enough of the, don't hold yourself back. We get in our own way so much. And I think that's something, and that's why I wanted to do the podcast as well, is that I felt like, all right, I'm holding myself back from everything that I want to do creatively. So even myself, like I'm gonna, you know, get back to drawing, dedicate more time to that, dedicate more time to, building the brand that I want to build. I mean, even try different things. Y'all spoke about acting, like that's something I've been interested in. Like
Oh,
just
interesting. I want to see that.
or even just try writing different things. I love writing. I don't know,
Yeah.
just
I was
again,
gonna
there's no
say, like,
boundaries.
you write really well. I think you should look into that. Maybe poems of some sort.
I mean, I would have to work on my like punctuation and things of that nature.
Oh,
I'm good with like the
that's out the
idea,
window for me.
Yeah,
but
but yeah, but that the punctuation thing comes with just like practice.
true,
Yeah,
You
true.
know.
and using it. Uh, I actually just found the fight. I'm out here doing research. So it's the guy's name is the UFC fighter is Israel Adesanya. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about him. And it was his
Oh
fight
yeah.
with Paul Gastelum. Yeah, that was one of the greatest UFC fights ever. Just watch that fight. You see exactly what I mean by like limits being set and how two human beings can reach that sort of level of
Oh yeah.
just pushing themselves.
Wait, it was against Paul Costa?
No, Gastelum, Gastelum.
Paul Gastelum?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Gaste. Yeah,
Gotcha.
you can watch it. Just watch it on mute so YouTube doesn't
Wait, Kevin Gastelum?
Kevin Gastelum. Damn, I'm losing it, man. I need
Damn,
another cup of
yo.
coffee.
Yo, Israel is so much taller than Kelvin as well.
Dude, this fight went into again, if you watch it on mute and you see exactly what I'm talking about, Kevin Gastelum. Um,
Gotcha.
well, I guess I'm gonna answer the last
Yeah, go
the
for
same
it.
question, and we could cut it short after that because it's been almost 2 hours. If you guys haven't noticed,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Um,
think we should I mean after that like I think we should get into like how do we stay creative,
Oh
yeah,
especially
yeah,
during like
yeah,
for
this
sure.
lockdown.
yeah. Um, came into this place of creativity by, I don't want to say sure chance, but it was again. I think
This
solitude
guy.
leads you.
I
Solitude.
stumbled upon it.
I was just chilling one day and then I
and
discovered it.
oh.
No, I think I came up to it in like solitude again, like you said. When you're alone, you tend to do things that your mind naturally gravitates to, and that's usually the thing you're meant to do. That's how I see it. So
Mm,
like in high school, I'll go home and I'll try on clothes like mad times. Like I'm just home, just in the mirror. I'll just create different outfits and put it on and then watch it and go back in the room and create. And to me, that was normal. I didn't think I was doing anything different or anything like
right.
crazy back then until like I found out that people were doing it on YouTube and this was an actual thing that could you can express your creativity with just trying on clothes. But that was just me just being bored at home and actually finding something fun to do for myself. So that's one way. But back then I didn't actualize it. I didn't identify with fashion or like being creative. It was just something I like to do. And I don't just limit myself to that. I also I loved reading growing up. So I even used to love getting books as like my birthday present. I was that type of kid.
Yo,
Um,
same here, bro.
yeah, dude,
Love
I get
reading.
super excited when like I got a new book and I'd finish it as soon as possible.
So you had to like grow into that.
Yeah, no, no, for me it was just there. Uh, and then I went to college, and obviously I already told the story about science and how that has followed me throughout my life.
Mhm.
But I just found myself just gravitating towards this one thing, which was fashion. But I didn't limit myself to just fashion. I learned about photography as well, and then
Hmm.
in all senses, it opened the sort of creative direction part of me that I didn't really know. I think I've spoken to Stalin about this. Like I'll tell him, "Oh, I love taking pictures, but I hate editing."
Yeah.
And then I didn't again back then I didn't know that that was creative direction in a sense. You could like set up the thing, know exactly how you want it to be edited, and like just create create. I didn't know there was a job was like a creative director or a director that did all of that, you know, especially in the fashion industry. So college, I think sophomore year was when I also bought a camera because I was watching Casey Neistat on YouTube and he inspired me to buy a camera. Bought a Nikon D5300. I bought a 51.8 lens and I started shooting portraits. That led me to meeting people on campus. I think you remember this style in CUNY fashion where it was me, Mirza, and a bunch of my friends who
Yeah.
go around college taking pictures of people's outfit and kind of created a page for it and gave them a way to express their thoughts on like fashion and how they're dressed in school. So that just led to opening that part of my brain because everything was just so one way from me. It was just so science, 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 study, 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 and like get in a routine. So I found a way to express myself through that. Senior year, I took photography class, film photography class, which is why I was talking about dark rooms earlier, where I learned how to actually enjoy the process of creating something from scratch. So I'd go out like early in the morning. Every week we were assigned a project, and there will be this overarching theme within that project, and you had to create something that reflects that theme. So every week you were given two rolls of films to just go out there in the streets and find something that matches that. And surprisingly, most of my classes in college, especially the science one, it felt like work. It felt like "Ugh, I have to go again. Here we go again. I have to study for this crap that again, not for science, but let's say a class like uh music that I didn't really care about, you know. I felt like okay, this is so much work that I have to just do, which it just felt like empty work. But with the photography class, I was eager. I would probably be the first person to get there in class. I'm like excited to show my project, excited to get in the dark room and spend hours there. Come out smelling like chemical, but I was enjoying that whole entire. It's true. You do smell like that sort of chemical. I was enjoying that whole entire process of like creating something from scratch and then like having it be there. One day I'll show you guys my portfolio with pictures. It's not that great, but like I loved it. So
At least you have something,
yeah,
and that's a good point because again, you may not think it's not that great, but back to our earlier point, somebody else might think it's
the best.
the
Yeah,
best thing they've ever seen in their life. And that's what I
yeah,
love about creativity. Like it's purely subjective. Like there's
yeah,
no right or wrong. It's literally just anything goes.
yeah.
Honestly.
And looking back at it, actually, like as a child, I actually was very self conscious of how I dressed. You know, I talk about the school uniform thing and how that pissed. I still remember exactly how I felt wearing that big ass uniform, going to school, thinking this could be a lot fitted. I could look a lot nicer, but whatever. And I remember buying like very trendy things growing up, like the cowboy belt hood kind of thing. I was wearing like magnetic earrings growing up, just like trying to express
Yo, I
myself.
remember I had one of those,
Uh,
and when I was a kid, and I think I can't remember where we about to go, but my dad, it was like one of the first time I was flying, and my dad's like, "You brought this? Like they're gonna take us out of line and do this and that." So he made me
yeah.
throw it away. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, we're still hurt by it. See, he still didn't forget about it. But it was stuff like that, and even in middle school, just performing at like talent shows. I didn't even know what my talent was, but I'll go out there and give it my all. I'm like singing, dancing, and like I wasn't shy about it. And if I had had the like outlets to express myself back then, I think I
Mhm.
would have went down a different route. So I just found myself just blossoming within my creativity in the sophomore year of college. I started to enjoy movies more. I started to look into directors. I started to enjoy a specific genre of music where like I hear beats differently. I hear the composition of it. I know when something is mixed and when it's not. I know when like an artist is creating from a genuine place and when an artist is creating for just commercial purposes. And like I developed my ear for that, which is why I'm very good like friends with Stanley, because when he sends
Right.
me stuff, I can like tell him this doesn't sound right here. Say this lyric over here. Like, again with the direction stuff for things, I it blossomed in the sophomore year of college. And that went on until I graduated, where again I told you guys about the nursing school thing and how I didn't want to do it and I dropped out and went into the fashion industry. But I loved the fashion industry because of the different facets of it. So there's like styling, which gave you complete creative direction if it was personal, but if it was editorial, there's other like um there's other inputs that come in it. And uh I like personal styling more because of how much freedom you had to make
Exactly.
something out of a few pieces of clothing, and how it intertwines with emotions and self-expression, which is why I genuinely want to work within the fashion industry, which is why I'm still here. uh which is why I also just look at clothes. I'm looking at designers and I'm like, okay, so let me see where this is coming from. Okay, this is just not a hoodie, but he put this sign over here, or he wrote this on the cuff because it means this. It ties in with the, again, I'm big on like overarching themes, or themes that are spread through, themes that express a general idea. So let's say I was trying to create something based on like a brick wall. The collection should kind of show shapes of a brick wall, or how that brick wall made me feel. So that's what I look into when I'm looking at designers, and that's what I think when I'm creating my stuff. It's not just, oh, I want to make a ring. No, I'm trying to spread a message. I'm trying to tell a story through that. And that's why I love like video work. Like with my brand, I'm working on. I still have developed this whole video thing for just one ring I release. But I want to let people know there's this message that I'm trying to send through this ring, and you have to
Right.
kind of watch this video to see what message I'm trying to tell. Which is why I'm also really friends with a lot of creative people, because they open up that side of your brain, that part of your brain. They inspire, they lead to conversations. You come up with ideas just talking to them regularly. I know a lot of poets. I like being friends with poets because I want to collaborate with them with, like, with pieces that I make. I want them to, if I tell you the overarching theme, I want you to, I'm giving away my ideas. Damn. I want you to, just write a little something for me where we could work together and create something out of nothing. I think people sleep on the aspect of creating something out of nothing, and they don't really give it its essence. And that's something I struggled with. Cause like, yeah, I could like edit a video, I could make a video, I could make a ring, but it's easy to just leave it as like, oh, this is just a ring. Where if you look at the process it took you to create the ring, it's a very beautiful thing, because months ago this thing wasn't there, and now from your mind it's physical. Or even if it's not physical, you made something that it could evoke a specific form of emotion from people, and that's
Right.
powerful. And I've recently just attributed that form of power to creativity, and I want to be like this. Even if down the line I had like a different job, I think that form of like creation will never leave. Will never leave. It's become like an integral part of my identity, and I'm never gonna let it go. So, even though me coming into my creativity was late, I'm glad that it happened. I'm very happy to experience this form of like seeing the world and looking at things like very differently. I'm the guy that would like stare out there at a leaf for about 10 minutes, just like standing, just staring at a tree leaf, or like looking at the shadow of like the leaf on the floor. And I think I don't do a great job documenting it, which is because of my absence on social media. But once like the city opens up and stuff like that, I'm gonna take that into just like consideration, just show things from my perspective, and really give people an insight into how my brain functions and how I come up with like certain specific ideas and such. But yeah, that's what creativity means to me, and the aspect of bringing something new to the world that could evoke emotion. That's what it means to me. That's what it stands, and that's how it generally makes me happy, and that's why I work within the fashion industry. But I like to think we're all Renaissance people. Like you, especially you, Patrick, you're good with writing, or you're good with a lot of stuff, styling as well. Even outside of just photography and directing, styling is a good conversationalist.
Oh yeah.
Like you could talk with Stalin and end up leaving very inspired or very in awe of like what this dude just like spit at you, you know. And I've seen
He's
him
That's
do
gassing
why
it.
we
it.
here.
He's gassing it. He's gassing it.
I'm not gassing. This dude picks up. I'm about to expose you. No, yeah, you're not. Nah, I can't do that right now. I can't do that because you might get in trouble for that. But
Hey,
but
come on, come on,
yeah,
come on.
I didn't. I just said I'm not gonna do that. But you know exactly what I'm thinking. You know, you're just a very great. You're a very great conversationalist, and you know how to pick the brain of people, and that's an interesting trait to have, and it all ties in with the creativity thing. So we're all Renaissance people. We're very spread out. Like I even tried stand-up comedy this year, and I liked it. You know, and I think if I
Has to say a
dedicated my
joke then.
I now on the spot, damn. I'll say a
Yeah.
joke. I'll
Yeah,
say
come
a
on,
joke.
come
If it
on,
doesn't
come on.
bang, again, that was my first time trying stand up, but I need to turn that part of me on. Okay. So uh oh no, the joke exposes me. I just I think it was the fact that I had never been to Brooklyn. I think people in Bronx will identify with this. Brooklyn is just too far to go. You have to take like 6 trains to get there, and we
6
don't vibe.
trains.
I'm exaggerating. Damn, it's a joke.
I'm playing. I'm
Okay.
playing.
But I've only been to Brooklyn twice in my life. The first one was a Tinder date, and
I'm dead.
the
I'm
second
dead.
time was to get my wallet back because my Tinder date stole it, and that like that describes Brooklyn to you. So that was one of the jokes I wrote in the green room. But the thing was that I didn't know how comedy worked until I tried it. You know, apparently there's a room where comics sit and they just bounce ideas off each other, and that's how these talk shows function, and these news, funny, comedic sort of nighttime talk shows function. They have a room full of just writers and comics that would tell them, "Oh, this joke doesn't do this. Say this instead." And like it was a very introspective moment for me. I was like, okay, but it was fun. And if I had had more time back then to dedicate to it, I would have. But that was when I was working like 3 jobs on top of an internship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's kind of funny because a lot of the things that require creativity, like they all kind of have like the same structure. Like a joke has the same structure as like a film, like the 3 act structure. Like
Yeah.
you have act 1, then act 2, and then act 3. Like a joke's the same thing. The setup, then like the pun, and then like the end.
The end, yeah, and then transition into the next joke. But
Yeah.
naturally, I think I'm funny, right, guys? Right? Right? Damn. Tough crowd.
Mad quiet.
Very
Tough
quiet.
crowd. F
I mean,
y'all.
I don't really know them.
But like as a comic, you should also expect that and know how to bounce back from that, and all of that
Yeah.
ties into it. But I genuinely just even enjoy like stand-up comedy as its own art form. I'll go to comedy shows. I listen to comedic podcasts all the time, and I genuinely enjoy it. So down the line, if let's say I become very financially independent, it's something I might look into. Just because I love that creativity aspect of it.
I'll film the Netflix special.
Yo, of course, executive producers by Stalin, and Patrick will write it for me too. We all get this back
until we hear
together.
the jokes.
Yeah,
That
this
wasn't
is not
us.
part of my portfolio. I have
Like,
never seen that man in my life.
They're like, Hassan, you can't say this. You know that, right?
Yes, I can. That's comedy. I'm sorry.
Be in the miscellaneous section.
So Netflix doesn't even want to attach themselves to it. It's like, we've already paid this guy, but we're gonna hide this as well as we can. It's in foreign films, but it's filmed in freaking New York City.
I'm dead.
They dub it in a different language so no one understands.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right, but yeah, Stalin, you were saying you wanted us to tackle one more part of
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
get
I
to it.
think
this topic, and then we'll
an,
end there
an
because we could
important
talk
part
for
is like,
hours.
yeah, I mean, like creativity is like something we could continue talking about, but I feel like right now it's like about us, and I just want to touch up on like the things that you can do to stay creative, especially
Yeah.
during lockdown. Like I haven't been able
Yeah.
to shoot, but it's giving me time to like write and
You
like
can
get
shoot your
ideas
shot
out.
though.
I'm dead. But yeah, like it's giving me time to write, and like I'm actually like working on a script, which is pretty fun.
Beautiful.
Something I've been wanting to do for a while, and like I was always nervous about it. Like I finally got around to it, and I feel like one thing to do, stay creative, is always be open to stuff. So it's like
Mhm.
I'm working on that, writing on that, but at the same time, I'm like keeping like my visual muscle creative by
Yeah.
like, let's say I listen to a song and I'll just write my concept out. Like I'll break down the song into the time frames, and then for each time frame I would write what I like parts of like a scene and what
Mm.
it all does. So it's like the one I'm doing for right now is like In Your Eyes by The Weekend, you know.
I love that song.
Yeah, that song's amazing, and like the
It
music video
is.
was cool, but it's like I have my own concept, and even if it's
Or
like never made or like pitched, it's like keeping me creative, you know.
yeah, and you could just make it and put it out there. Maybe the weekend will see it and was like, I like what
Yeah,
you just did, you know.
yeah, and that's like one of the projects I want to do like once everything opens up. But yeah, right now I'm really reading like this book on screenplay called this one by Sid Field. It's amazing. It's like, and
Sid Fields.
if people want to get into like screenwriting or like writing too, like it's such a great book, and like it really like has made me become like more self-aware and like not only think of like how to write but also about myself, because I
Mm.
realized like when I'm writing a character, like you really have to be introspective. Like right now, like one of my exercises yesterday was writing the character bio for my main character. So it's
Mhm.
like I literally was starting from the day he was born up to year 10.
Holy.
So I
Oh
have to
wow.
like, yeah, so I'm like writing like I'll give you like an example of what
A
I
little
wrote for his bio.
freestyle.
Yeah. And it's like even like I'm just writing and like putting it all out, and it's like
Yeah.
it's gonna take a lot of like versions and reviews, but that's the beauty of it, because like creativity is always evolving and it can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
And like just being open to things like meditation is a great way to like
Guys,
be
you have
creative, I
to.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It helps you
meditation.
be present.
Yeah, not only present but really like listen to yourself, your mind, and your interior. And I've gotten like
Yes, subconscious.
some of my ideas have come from just meditating and listening.
Mm.
As soon as I'm done, I just like write it down. And
Yeah.
it teaches you to be present and just being opening to stuff. Like I love watching foreign films. Like like you see so many stories and you get to
Mm.
see so many different ideas and all the cultures, and it's like beautiful. Like the more like you are open to it, like the more like more ideas you're gonna have, the more it's gonna like help you see the world differently and like
Mm-hmm.
feel it. you know
Yeah.
and it, like you were saying, like it can come from like staring at a tree or a leaf. Everyone is gonna find, it's gonna have like their own,
Inspiration from like,
yeah, their own feel, their own sources. Like
yeah.
for me, like some of the thing that really fuels my creativity is like hearing and reading about physics. It's really weird. It's like people are like,
This
how the
guy.
hell does like physics like correlate to like filmmaking?
Filmmaking, yeah.
But it's like for me, it's like when I read about physics or quantum physics, and I'll give you guys a book to read, because if you guys read this book, it's gonna like blow your mind. Hold up.
He's about to do his sponsored post. Use the code Livicheska for 20%
Here,
off. What
it's
code should we use again, Livicheska?
What's it called?
Hyperspace by Michio Kaku. Michio
Hyper.
Kaku is like hyperspace, and it's like a scientific odyssey through parallel universes, time warps, and the 10th dimension.
Yeah, that statement just blew my mind. It's already,
So it's like it's really cool because it
Sound
really
like I
makes,
don't even gotta read it.
yeah, I'm already like,
yeah.
whoa.
No,
You
because
know
like
that meme of the kid just going,
yeah.
oh.
it's really cool because like physics is like it's all theoretical, but it has a theory is like it's not, it has to be proven or disproven, you know.
Mm,
So based on math, like we can say like, you know, there's so many theories, and it's
True.
really baffling to think like at one point like the whole universe, like, you know, if you believe in like science and the Big Bang, which I believe to be true, and it doesn't mean just
mm.
because you're scientific doesn't mean you can't have like religious beliefs or a higher being, because I feel like it all correlates, you know.
Yeah, of course. With a
You
lot
know.
of scientific discoveries, there's been um scriptures that have already kind of talked about that without even context to uh form of technology back then.
Yeah,
Like in the
yes,
Quran, there's a lot of things that it even like talk about the human body and like cells and like we're talking like deeply
yeah,
rooted medical stuff. And back then they didn't even have like the technology or the knowledge to actually know this. So
yeah,
it intertwines. If you're a very spiritual person, you could and you're
yeah,
scientific, you can find a place where they both correlate or coincide. But
yeah,
there's also places where they're totally like dissonant
yeah.
as well.
But like, yeah, for me, like physics is always like, for me to like imagine like everything, you know, in the universe was like literally the size of like the head of a pin, right? And then in like the billionth of a billionth of the billionth of a second, like it all just expanded to like the observable universe that we know, you know. And then there's like, and just by that one notion, you know, the as we know, the universe is theoretically, well, I think they know that it's 13.8 billion years ago, right?
That's what
So
they
that,
say. Yeah.
yeah, so that means like that's when the Big Bang happened, right? So like this is gonna
You see
probably
what I
like,
told you guys about Stalin's conversations?
this
You
is gonna
guys
like,
see it, right?
this is gonna blow your mind, and like when you hear this, like you're probably gonna like see life very differently,
Brace
because this is,
yourself.
yeah, because it's the way I
It's
see it.
coming.
So 13.8 billion years the universe started, right? And you know, billions of years passed until like, you know, the earth was, I mean, the universe was very chaotic, and then it started to go into order. Then the earth formed, and then, you know, it was still very chaotic, and then eventually, like by chance or probability, like who knows, like life started to emerge. So
Mm.
from the very first singular cell that split and became the organism, it all led to this moment in time. Like think about it, like all of history literally happened so that like you, me, and Patrick could be here at this moment.
With the podcast and the mics.
Yeah, because it's like, it's literally like, if you really start to look back, it's like, it's really mind-blowing, because in order for
Mm.
you to be here, that means your mom and dad had to have met, right? They
Yeah.
had to have falling in love and had you. But there's other probabilities, and that the fact that their parents had had to have to meet
Yeah.
in
Or
order
if
for
they had
them to
met different
arise.
people and then like,
Yeah, and then it goes back all to the beginning of time.
dude, you're
And
making me think too much,
yeah,
too hard. God
and
damn, like
and when
You over here looking out the window like.
I'm like
yeah,
sad music starts playing. I'm just there like
so
all around me a familiar face.
so when you start to think about it like that, like I really start to imagine that and visualize it, and it's just like, holy crap, like the fact that all of that happened, like all the events that led to my existence at this point of time of like having this conversation and this podcast is really mind-blowing. And like
And if
that just,
anything, it solidifies you in the present.
yeah, yeah, and it's like it really like fuels my creativity that way when I see that, and it's just like, whoa, like,
You don't
because then
want
you
to
start to
let
think of all the other events that could have happened that
yeah,
wouldn't have led here to, you know. So that's like the thing for me that like I really love about
yeah.
physics, and it
Can you
makes me
spit
like
that?
relieve my imagination.
Yeah. Can you spit that freestyle you were gonna give us?
What freestyle?
The thing you wrote.
Oh yeah. Oh, the character bio. My bad.
Yeah, the physics took this guy
You
to a
trying to
whole
have a
different
you trying to have a
universe.
battle on here?
Nah.
All
It's
right.
for another podcast. I'll write my bars down. I'll write
So
my
this
bars
is,
down for it.
so this is like how, like what I did yesterday to like be creative, like really use my muscle. It's like, so I wrote a character bio for
I,
my protagonist
I give it
from
ad
the,
libs.
yeah, from years 1 to 10. So right now, for some reason, like my mind was, the protagonist was born in May of 1996, and his father is a pastor, and the mother was a
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom. He's a single
Okay.
child that was very sheltered. You know, the father was very strict and controlling and didn't allow anything that he considered sinful. This included like restrictions on music, movies, and certain friends. You know,
Bars.
yeah, his father was very controlling. Him and his mother always had to do what he was said, but his dad was never like never hit him. He was like sometimes really abusive, but that never laid a hand on him. He
So
was
it's emotional abuse.
kind of, yeah.
Mm.
And but he did have good moments with his father, but he mostly grew up to like resent him. You
Mm.
know, he was close to his mother. She was very loving and caring. Uh, treasured him, showed him a lot of affection, and she would let him get away with certain things, like watching certain shows and movies when the dad wasn't around. And at school, he was rather shy and had a few friends. Due to being sheltered, could be very fearful. He
Yeah.
was like a really incredible student, enjoyed reading. One thing he always enjoyed was though going to the movies and seeing all the faces on the big screen. And the kid was taught to believe in God. Although his father could be hard at home, he was a good example for the outside, being very welcoming and caring about the community. It was a very harsh contrast the protagonist never understood, you know?
Mm.
And it's like, that's just like an exercise like I do to like
So,
be creative, you know? It's like
did
you
y'all
really
see
start
that
to
juxtaposition in the last statement?
like,
Y'all sleeping with my boy, man. This is
yeah,
what I call mother effing bar. Nah, let me stop. No,
yeah,
I actually really like how you wrote that. It kind of felt personal a little bit as well.
yeah. It's like you start to like, you really, like, I'm
Tearing
really
down
trying
yourself
to, yeah, it's not even
to build
myself because it's like the thing was like about the book says it's like remember that the character is not you. Like you're
Mm,
developing a character, he might have like certain traits about you, but never make it about yourself because
interesting.
then it will never work. But it's like being creative is like, okay, like let me try and get into like the head of this character. Like, because I have a story, but then the character has to be the one that acts for it and brings out that thing,
I see what you're
you know?
saying. I
But
get it.
behind every person, like it's their background and their upbringing that develops them to who they are and like leads them to act a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like trying to create someone, but someone that's like genuine. Like, why are they the way they
That's
are
his
when
own
the movie
being that
starts?
thinks for
Yeah,
itself, that has all the sort of human characteristics
yeah,
exhibited in its own form. That's
yeah.
see, this is what I
Stalin
meant
trying to
about
develop
creation.
AI.
Huh? I mean, he's reading that freaking physics book, so I'll be surprised the next podcast, dude has a robot just saying everything
Yeah.
for him.
No,
Becomes a episode of freaking Her Part Two, the
no, I'm
movie
telling you guys,
Her.
like read if you read more about like theoretical physics, because there's a lot of books that like doesn't like they explain it in like layman terms, so it's not
Mm,
like they will use mathematics, but you'll comprehend it. But it's
yeah.
gonna fuel your imagination and like your perspective on the world and the universe as you know it so much that it's gonna literally like just make you want to like create and realize that like if this is possible, then creating is super easy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because creating is the natural form of the universe if you think about it, you know.
But yo, again, how many bars did Stalin just lay again? I lost count.
Yeah, and
Creating is a natural form of the universe. So if you're creative, you're just expressing the universes. Damn, I don't got bars like that.
yeah, and it's like you're a creation of the universe as well, you know.
Yeah.
And then like you're here for, and the universe is giving you like the ability to create like your own universe, you know. Because the way I see it is like when you're creating something, you're creating like your own reality.
Tiny, yeah.
Yeah,
And you're putting it into the universe, which is also a form of creation in itself.
yeah.
Uh, Patrick, anything you'd like to add? I think Stalin just took the words right out of my mouth. Like I got nothing, bro.
You don't got nothing?
I got nothing. Nah, I'm kidding. But I
Oh.
want you to say something before I'd add to it, and then we'll end the
Um,
show.
for me, ways to stay creative. Well, I guess we could focus on the lockdown since that's the reality that we're in. Um,
Dun dun dun. I'm
what
sorry.
day? uh, pardon me. I guess it's really thinking about things that you wouldn't usually look towards.
Mhm.
So, people tend to look towards, oh, I can't go outside, I can't do this. Or where it's like, okay, now I'm in lockdown and now I want to connect with my family and do all these things that I don't do that often. But instead, I think it's about, again, stepping out of your comfort zone. So even I've been reading, I think the first like 4 books I read in lockdown have been about, I don't want to say self-development, but really just about, you know, trying to make changes as a person and looking at things differently. So I guess that's a way to do it, is at least for me in my own perspective, is that look at things that you wouldn't even look at. So you spoke about earlier, like, oh, I see a leaf on the ground or this or
Yeah,
that. Because there's obvious things that you can draw inspiration from.
of
Like,
course.
obviously, you could draw inspiration from anything happening with the pandemic, or, speed it up present time, things that are happening with Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, that's anyone can draw inspiration from that, create art from that, which is fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but those things that you don't usually look towards. So maybe I will pick up a book and read about, I don't even know, maybe it could be about water or something. I don't know. It could be anything, but it's just,
Yeah,
I wouldn't usually pick that up, so let me pick that up and challenge myself. So I think when you want to really seek inspiration, it's about finding new inspiration. It's kind of simple, but
yeah.
it's hard because people don't want to put themselves into that zone. Like, we want to
Yeah.
stay with, oh, I go
What we
outside
know.
and
Yeah,
yeah, you
get
want
it,
to
get it. Yeah. So
exactly,
diversifying your source of inspiration and motivation to create, essentially.
exactly. Like, it's anything like that, and then really just challenge yourself. So even for me, like, I did this before the lockdown, but there's another part to the area that I stay in, and I just walked over there and I saw that part of like Riverdale for the first time.
Oh, the I
Cause
know what you.
yeah, and I'm like, I don't know, I never walked over there, I never saw, I
Yeah.
don't know what's over here, and
Wait, is it by the water?
it's I just tried to walk over there with E like a week and a half ago or something like that, and trying to get to the water, I'm like, I don't even know how to get over here, but I'm like, let me just keep walking, like
Yeah.
I've never been over here, but
Mm.
you know it's just like, okay, it's a different world, but then you really see like, okay, and then you can still get inspired by that, but by what's happening now, because I stay in the part of this part of the Bronx where is, I guess, more diverse, but it'll be
The
more
X.
it'll be
What is
more
sexy?
black folks, Dominican folk, even though we're
Yeah.
pretty much the same, and then you go over there and it's majority white
Dude, it's the
people,
same thing
and it's kind
actually.
of
Where
like hidden, and
yeah,
it's like, whoa, like I didn't even know this is
this
how it
part of the
was over
Bronx
here.
existed. Yeah.
But if I never went over there, I would have never came to that
Yeah.
realization. So maybe that motivates me to create something in a different way. Or maybe I think, maybe I have a business in the Bronx and I want to, okay, cool. In this area specifically, I'm like, all right, I'm going to cater to, people like us. But then it's like, hold on, like I just walk over maybe
There's a
8
whole new
minutes,
demographic that
and
I
it's like I
didn't
need
consider.
to change up my menu a little bit, or
Yeah.
see what they like, or go talk to these people too. It's
Yeah.
like, damn, like I didn't even know this was over here. And it's,
Yeah.
those are the things, like coming out of your comfort zone and just trying to do something differently. And that's why I spoke earlier about, I don't know, like I've always looked at, I mean, we go back and forth. I guess we ain't got to say that actor name, but it's like, I don't know. I don't think he's that great of an actor, but it's like sometimes I feel like I would like to give that a try. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Do it.
and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I would try
Do
to
it.
do
Just
this and
go
do
for an
that. Yeah.
audition.
And, you know, again, that would be challenging myself because that's something I've never done,
Yeah.
you know, but you got to think about those things. And,
Yeah. Again,
yeah.
I'm big on not limiting yourself when it comes to expressing your creativity. If you want to make music, try it. You never know.
Oh, well, this too. Everybody, I would encourage everyone to step out of their own worldview. Because when you're
Yeah.
in just this bubble, you can't see other things or even begin to understand other things. So if we want to talk about race, like if you've only listened to this network, read this paper, done this, you haven't left your hometown, you're not going to understand different things. So for me, that's what I've been trying to do, and it's kind of hard because I think all of us are conditioned to kind of fall back to that, and trying to break different habits. I'm a firm believer you'll never truly change who you are at the core. That's always going to be there.
Yeah.
But the things that you do, how you choose to look at different problems, different situations that can change. But
For sure.
when you stay stuck in your own worldview, that also limits your creativity. I mean, how many, I can't tell you, like, we all have maybe like favorite artist or musician that every album sounds the same, like same song.
For
Like you
sure.
might as well just put the same song on repeat. And it's like, I feel like they're limited, or they know that it will work, but it's
It
like you're
works. It's
so
just yeah.
limited that you're not trying anything else. And we've been critical of Kanye West, but
At
this
least he
dude
tries something.
tries like
Something
literally
new every
anything.
single time.
And it's like I
He's
can
one.
get with that, and I can
Yeah.
respect that.
He's one of those peoples that embodies what it means to go after an idea. Like if he has an idea, he's a doer, and I respect him for that. Like he has my respect for that. Like if he says he's gonna make a cup, trust me, in 6 months you're gonna see a Kanye cup.
You
It's
paying
true.
you paying 250 for that cup though?
Nah, nigga.
Ah.
I'll resell it.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna fire up the kiln and make my own.
exactly. Yeah, and I'll pay zero for that one because I made it my damn self. But no, I wanted to add that again, like adding on to what Patrick said, diversifying your form of creativity is important. So for me, it's not even as big as going as far as going out to look at things, but smaller things are like taking in other people's creation helps too. I find out
Mhm.
like watching music videos help stimulate a specific part of my creativity, or even movies. I would sit down and just take in movies and watch the shots and think of how they came up with that and how they color coordinated. And, you know, I'm already thinking about how they edited it. What's their message, and you can take from it and make it yours. So you can find inherent emotions or hidden things in specific works of creation that would inspire you to make something that reflects how you felt in that moment. And that's how I think creativity works. It's a form of a cyclical thing where you get inspired by one thing, you make it. Someone else also might get inspired by that same thing, but his creation is different and it works in that way. So also don't be shy of like looking at other people's works to get motivated by. It's totally okay. It's totally fine. Read a book, go for a walk. What I've started doing is running. I don't enjoy it, but I get to see a more of my neighborhood that I've never like really walked in. Like Patrick just said, like yesterday I went and I've discovered this one park. I was like, I did not know that this park was here at all. You know,
Oh yeah, I mean
by
even
just running.
like what a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there's this part where there's a park where it's kind of like a hill, and everybody just sits there, like lays towels out, chairs, and literally like when I looked it up, I was just looking around at properties and stuff. When I looked that portion up on the map, it said like, oh, people lay out here, this, that, and third. It's like I didn't, and this is literally like right behind
You're like,
like
what
a
the hell going
grocery
on
store.
there?
And it's like, oh damn, like I didn't even know that people are sitting out there tanning and just chilling,
Shit. Nah, I
So
definitely understand.
Yeah.
yeah. And even in this lockdown, I think what we have to realize too is that, creativity doesn't stop. Like there's nothing that can stop that.
You don't have to force it too. If you force it,
Oh
it
yeah,
doesn't
no.
reflect like real. It's not. It's usually not authentic when you force it. You could tell when an artist forces it. Like you could tell when a label is pushing an artist to release an album, and then when they actually genuinely want to create an album.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going back to like your points, like the thing about what Patrick said about being open to stuff. It's like I forgot what cinematographer said this, but when I was like listening to this interview, he said honestly the best form of art and like shots he's ever made came from experience, like
Mm.
not just from just being out there in the world and like seeing things differently. You know, it's gonna feel that. It's like think of experience as fuel for your creativity. You know,
Creativity.
just
Yeah.
being
It's
open
like
for it.
gas for it.
Yeah, and you always need that to see things differently. And
Yeah.
you know, going back to Hassan's point, it's like not only just getting that experience but actually doing something with it, because at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day it's like you can be creative here, but if it's only there then you're not really gonna like express it. You
Yeah.
know, you have to be able to if you want to share that creativity, you have to be able to do it. And
Yeah, I have to
or,
make
or,
something
or
that's more
even if it's
creative.
just for you, like, it's going to help you develop that even better.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
we've been talking for almost 2 hours and 30 minutes now.
Goddamn.
And this conversation could go on and on and on and on. But I think
Yeah.
it's about time where
It's
take a
about
break
that
from
time.
this. It's about that time we say goodbye to y'all and go. I'm probably gonna go get a haircut, look fresh. What are you guys gonna do after this?
Wish I was going to get a haircut.
Yeah, same here,
Yeah,
man.
sucks
Look
to
at
be
the
you.
look at his hair.
Yeah,
It's
you
crazy,
can't
bro.
relate. Can't relate.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
I'm out here balling, man. What can I
yeah,
say?
Hell out of here. All right, all
Yeah.
right, all right.
yeah.
Look, everybody, thank you again for tuning in. We really appreciate each and every one of y'all. And hopefully everyone remains safe. And please, if you are enjoying what we're talking about, subscribe and we will bring much more content to you.
Yeah, and to add on to that, we're still working on audio editing. We're people that are very particular about how our work is presented. So even if though this is on Zoom, we want to be able to record, to edit the audio in a higher quality before we spread it on your major DSPs. So that's coming very
Exactly.
soon. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to leave a comment below on what you liked. Give us suggestions. Ask us any questions. Let's get the conversation going in the comments, and we will see you guys on live tonight at 9 p.m. Stalin, anything you want to add?
Final points. I'm just gonna tell people that I know that life can be very hard and you can be consumed by fear. But if you want to do something, you got to move past that. Like every journey starts with fear. Like
Mm.
the hero's journey from like every single story. It always starts with a decision to just go into the unknown. You don't know, you don't know if you're gonna in the hero's journey. They don't know if they're gonna die or not, but they just went for it. And it's always like a leap of faith. But you got to be open to experience, being proactive, and just be open to lessons. And that's it. Just don't be scared. Everything starts with just one decision of doing. So yeah, but like,
Beautifully
comment, and
said.
subscribe.
Yes, beautifully
Yeah,
said, Stalin. Thank you.
Thank you.
exactly.
Again, this guy with his words, man. I told y'all. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Well,
All
off
right,
Yeah.
y'all.
this.
See you
Hey,
Peace.
guys.
be safe, y'all.
You
Yeah.
too.